Not all those who wander are lost. J.R. Tolkien. Welcome to Aegis Travel Adventures. We are Ken
and Gisele. We have been to over 100 countries and are still looking to see what is around the next corner. We love wine,
travel, and adventure. Listen to our podcast where we share the fun of the magical places, people, and cultures that have touched our lives.
Aegis.
Aegis.
Travel.
Travel.
Adventures.
Adventures.
Hi, and welcome to
Ageless Travel Adventures. This is podcast number 18. This is Ken.
This is Gisele, and we are broadcasting from the middle of the ocean.
Somewhere between the Shetland Islands and the Faroe Islands. And it's a little bit rough out there. And we had a stop in the Shetland Islands today canceled because of the roughness. So we've been at the bar for quite a while, and that's appropriate for us to do our broadcast on Prague, the Czech Republic, and it's probably the beer capital of the world. The Czechs drink more beer per capita than any other place in the world, and the beer is excellent. So yes, we've spent a few hours at the bar today because the ship has been at sea, and we plan to be out enjoying the Shetland Islands. We've been there before, and it's scenic. It's there's things to see and do, and we were looking forward to going back and doing some of them. So we drowned our sorrows at the bar. So here we are. Let's talk about Prague. We left Munich on the train, and just informationally, we took the Czech train from Munich. It was far cheaper than the German train. And you know what? As far as we could tell, because we did a German train later on, it was just as nice.
And we did second class, and it was fine. Again, it's a very short train. What about?
2.25 hours.
So it was fine. And there's easy place to store your luggage, and we had no trouble getting on. So it was a pretty and then enjoyable trip. We brought a few snacks with us, so we weren't starving, and we had a nice time.
Yeah, and so we got to Prague, and we're staying at the Hilton, and we're Hilton Diamond members, but even more important, our cousin works for Hilton, and we often get a friends and family discount, and we did get it there. And the Hilton there we stayed at was a full Hilton, so it had an executive lounge.
And we've stayed at, again, numerous Hiltons all over the world. But that was probably, and if I have to rate our top 10 Hiltons, that would be one of them.
Probably in the top 3.
It was amazing. The staff was wonderful. But more importantly, our room was, and again, we don't have like the suite or anything. We have your basic king room, and but it was just really nice, and the accommodations were lovely. The location was spot on in the middle of everything that you wanted to go to, and
it was the Hilton Prague Old Town.
Yeah, so you want to say Old Town.
There's 2, and the other one's more in the business district. So if you're a tourist sightseeing, you probably want to stay at the Hilton Hilton Prague Old Town.
And when it was funny thing though, when we got from the train station, and the taxi driver, which we got, not Uber or Lyft, but taxi, and took us to the station, the car was locked until Ken paid the fee. And must tell you that there's some people that try to jump on the taxi tours and not pay their fee. But anyway, so we did that. It was fine. We got there, and we booked the next day the old Jewish quarter tour. It was a private tour with us and 2 other people. And I learned so much about the old town of Prague and the Jewish quarter and what happened during World War II and the precursor to World War II. It was really well worth our money, and I learned more about things that we had no idea about. And
the Prague Castle is the largest castle in the world, and people, including our guide, said, well, could be true, but how do you define a castle? And their parliament and a lot of their buildings are located in that complex, and there are castles. There's buildings that date back as far as the 10th century that are been built above, and it's interesting, but it does spread across the top of this mountain or plateau for a very long way, and there's supposedly over 1,000 rooms in this castle.
And as our guide said, what do you equate a room? A room is a closet, a room is a bathroom, etc. So we chose not to go visit the castle because, again, we've been to a lot of castles.
We chose not to go inside.
Yes, exactly.
But we did the tour from the exterior.
But we did like I said, the Jewish Quarter, and learned a lot about the history and the just the way that the city evolved and the way that people just developed through the whole experience of it.
And have I said how good the Czech beer is? Of course I have. And so after we finished our tour, we asked our guide where the monastery was that has a brewery in it, and he told us. And so we walked up that way, and with a little, do you go right or do you go left? We saw something that looked like a monastery in the distance, and sure enough, it was it. And we managed to get there, and we had lunch.
Lunch was good. I won't say lunch was amazing, but it was fine. It was good.
And the beer was really good, and they had an award-winning dark beer, and I had that. And I have to say, once again, how good the Czech beers are. So it was a great day, and we saw a lot from the castle. Obviously, it's way above the Charles Bridge and the river. You can kind of see everything from there. It's extremely scenic. The place was overrun with tourists. I mean, it really was. And it's summer, I understand. But everyone says go to Eastern Europe. It's cheaper, and I agree. It is cheaper. But they used to say, there wasn't so many tourists there. But I think that's changed a bit in the last few years.
Yeah, so we enjoyed the city. It was really fun to look at, and it was just all the historic buildings, and again, in the perspective of World War II versus America, of all that kind of stuff, just to see the history that evolves from it, and the way those people the way the city has evolved and kept on growing since World War II is really fascinating. I'd never been to Prague, never been to that part of the country,
Neither
the
have I.
world, and so but we were with the people were lovely. Again, we really enjoyed the whole city.
And we found out that if you're over 65, the public transportation is free. So, but you have to bring your passport. So,
But we never had anybody question us or ask us.
no,
maybe.
but our guide told us that. So we had our passports, and everywhere we went, we used pretty much used the transportation, and it was free. Nobody questioned us, and it was easy to get around. It's kind of a perk, when you're traveling. And so we had 2 days there, three nights. But by the time we got there from Munich, the day was kind of mid to late afternoon.
Yeah, and I booked several. I looked into some jazz clubs and stuff, and but of course, knowing us, we went to the happy hour at the hotel. Got chatting with some amazing American people we met from Austin. So we just ended up hanging out at the bar. So anyway, but we enjoyed. What I did like about Prague was the history. I enjoyed seeing the way the world is about history and seeing things.
How over the Middle Ages, how this was with this country, and then it's with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and then after World War I, this has gotten broken up, and it's I'm not even sure I can remember exactly everything it was, but after World War II, it was Czechoslovakia and the Soviet Union ruled it. It was communist. And then in 1991, when the wall came down in Berlin and the Soviet Union broke up, it became a free country with elections. And then I think about 5 or 6 years later, Czechoslovakia separated. They became the Czech Republic and the Slovakia. And it was bloodless. I mean, it was a handshake, which is pretty amazing. And so their history is very long, very I want to think almost convoluted in some respects because they're right in the middle of Europe, but extremely interesting. So we did the Charles Bridge, we did the palace, we walked through the old town. There's lots of shops, lots of old buildings. They have I want to call a glockenspiel, or their version of it was an astronomical clock. And so we sat down, of course we ordered some beers, some good Czech beers, and we had some kind of primo seats right in front of the clock. And every hour on the hour, the clock does its thing, and little guys come out and run around the sides, and the clock ticks up. And then there's supposed to be a rooster that crows, so to speak, and it has an airbag of some sort that gets squeezed by this device, but that wasn't working.
And they were saying, you look at it now like, what is this going on? This is not so great. But back in the 1800s,
1400s,
this is like a really big deal. So it was a big deal back in the day. So it was it's funny though, after it goes on the hour, people like applaud, and we thought it was kind of funny. So we enjoyed it. It was a very cutesy little city. There's lots of tchotchke shops. And if you want to go and hang out, I would say 2 days is probably the max you could spend there. What do you think, Ken? About 3?
Yeah, probably.
In the main area.
In the main part of the city. If you really want to get into museums and tour the whole castle or palace, inside and out, you could spend more time. And then, of course, like any big city, you can take extended trips that go out more into the countryside to historic places and other things. So it's kind of your call, but what you want to do. But I'm saying if you just want to go to the city, 3 days, 4 days at the max probably. You'll see what you need to see. It's kind of a youthful city. There's music at night. There's lots of beer, pubs, and a lot of the food is associated with pubs. So we enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was a lot of heavy food, a lot of bratwurst, and it's very Germanist kind of food still.
So as far as Prague goes, we highly recommend you go. We think it's a beautiful city, and it should be on your bucket list. But tip of the day, when you're going on a train or from anywhere actually in Europe, always look at Rome to Rio. That's a website or app that we highly recommend, and it'll tell you walking, driving, taxi, boat. Whatever is applicable. And they have the cheapest and the best, fastest. And you can push the button and you can look at it. And in this case,
they suggested when I looked at Rome to Rio, they suggested using from Munich to using the Prague.
The Czech trains.
Czech trains. So I went online and I went.
You went to the YouTube.
YouTube, and this guy had done a YouTube about the traveling, and it's like how simple it was and blah blah blah. So I said, what the heck, and again, it's very reasonable. We're talking $20-$30 if at the most. So what I liked most about it was like, just go, bring a bottle of wine. They don't care, whatever. So we booked it on actually 2 segments of our trip, and it turned out to be very easy. The one thing I would suggest is that you make sure you download the app prior to booking any trip, because the app, if you book it when you have the app, then when you want to find out what's late, what's not, whatever, it's on your app. If you don't book it prior to using the app, then you don't have that information. So that's the only thing. So we did that, and it worked really well. And just a side note, we made some changes to our plans. I was able to cancel our trip, and they are sending me back a refund, which we haven't gotten yet, but hopefully we will. But again, it was super easy. So I was very pleased with the even though the translation from English to or Czech to English was a little bit sketchy, it all seemed to be okay.
So transportation can be a big piece of your budget, and it's important that you pay attention to it. And like we said, if you're over 65 in Prague, you got free transportation. Bring your passport. For the trains, the Czech trains go from a variety of places in Europe. Like we went from Germany, from Munich, but they go to other places to and from. So it's worth checking that, and you can save a lot of money. And money is money. It's a good thing to do, and it's easy to do, but you just have to be aware of it all. So that's why we hope our podcast benefits you. And if you got any questions, take a look at our Instagram. Send us the questions. We'll be glad to answer them.
Yeah. And we are a shout out because we are 28th on our South African podcasts.
Yep.
We're like woohoo!
We got a rating.
Yeah, so we're thrilled.
Yep. And hopefully you're enjoying them, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Ages,
Hijos.
travel,
Travel.
adventures.
Adventure.